You're tuned in to Repco Muscle Garage, the home of New Zealand's toughest muscle cars, hot rods and street machines. Proudly brought to you by Repco, in association with Mount Shop, McGuires and Rizlone. We've got something a bit different in store for you this week. Welcome to our Holden Special. General Motors might have called time on its Australian production arm, but it's a mark that stamped its mark on New Zealand's car culture. Many legendary yarns have a Holden in them. It's one of the cars you learned to drive in, that your granddad drove, or family road trips were spent in the back seat of. Of course, there's a proud racing legacy, and you might have cheered one on as it clocked up lap after lap with your favourite driver behind the wheel, or maybe you just envied your neighbours. The first production car to wear the badge was launched in 1948, but it was 54 before Holden would begin exports to New Zealand in the form of the FJ. Not a bad place for us to kick things off either, with Clint's recently completed stunner of a panel van, the latest in a string of early models for a guy bitten bad by the Holden bug.
I've always had them, and I just love the look of them, you know. I don't mind a lot of other cars, but just an old Holden is just so Kiwi, you know, Kiwi Aussie. They're a good car, you know, and everyone's had one. I remember buying an HR windowless panel van at Waikimata Hill in West Auckland, Kelston, at a car dealer's for $1,600, and I paid it off. It was a blue one, no window. It was a great car. It had the big house speakers in the back. I used to go to Muriai Beach all the time, go surfing, etc. So that, when I had that HR panel van, I just loved vans and old Holdens way back then, and I'm talking, you know, when I was 16, 17 years old. And buying an HR panel van at a car dealer's, that's weird.
Clint's owned and still owns a bunch of early Holdens, from original examples to the likes of this wild chopped and candy EK Custom that we featured a few years back. Following up the EK was going to take something pretty unique.
Something I actually never thought of, an FJ van, because you know, you don't see them, so you don't really think of them. Panel vans are cool, man. They're just like, everyone can have a sedan, but you find an old Holden panel van, very hard to find. I just love the look of them. You know, they're cool, yeah. The plan from the start was just to go stock standard original and just keep it fully original old man style. But then I was online looking at other FJs, etc. And I just wanted to jazz it up just slightly, you know, put some widened rims on it, paint the wheels, just make it look a mild custom. That's what I wanted, nothing serious, just got the twin carbies, the twin headers, etc. It's pretty subtle really, that's all I wanted, yeah.
So it'd be a stretch to call the FJ a muscle car, van, especially when parked next to its stablemate in the form of the EK. But when the starting point is a pretty solid one, and you can count the number of these early examples in New Zealand on the fingers of one hand, you'd be pretty brave, or maybe a little foolish, to chop one up.
Yeah, the vehicle definitely decides it for us, because if it's already been messed with, you can carry on messing with it, right? But if it's got good bones and it's got the potential to go back to original, and that's where originality is worth more money in the future if you wanted to, you know, sell it. It was too good to V8. You don't want to do that. Keep the 6 in it, the 138. I've got a 132. One day I sell it, I could sell it with the 132.5, and someone could take it back to original if they wanted to. Once it's got a V8 in it, it's hard to take it back to the 6.
However, when you're talking rare vehicles, a restoration that honours the original can certainly throw up its own share of speed bumps.
Yeah, probably when I realised that I was missing a vital piece, which is a cross member. I got the van, I'm like, why are these floors not sitting in here nicely, you know? What's missing? Oh yeah, this cross member that goes over the hump and that way, which I was lucky to find a new old stock one in Aussie. A guy sold me for like $400 and posted it here. Once that went in, my panel beater got stuck in. It's like, yeah, this is looking good. But it was a big job, yeah, but worth saving. I like saving cars, old Holdens anyway.
The Pano's colour, ride height and wide wheels do wonders for its appearance, while the fit and finish is to a level far higher than the Holden factory could deliver. The The motor has a couple of extra cubes and a few hop-up parts, but this is no street rod to drive.
It's like an old car. Pain in the ass. No, to be honest, it does drive quite smooth. It's got a bit of rattle because it's a commercial vehicle, and it's got no padding and it's got no upholstery, so you hear all the road noise. Brakes are crappy. The wipers are crap because of vacuum. It looks better than it drives, but it does drive well. It's just what it was back in the day. That's how they drove, and that's what you're used to. I've got no indicators on that thing either. I've got to do hand signals, and I've got one brake light. So you've really got to keep your wits about you when you're driving it. Yeah, that's just part of the fun,
The FJ gets around too, and the Repco Beach Hop 2020 crowd saw it fit to join the ranks of the festival's top 5 cars, backing up the same feat Clint also achieved with the EK Delivery. Impressive results to come out of a far north hobby workshop, a workshop manned by 2 full-time house painters and only part-time car builders.
Because I know what Goose and I are like, and we knew it would turn out good, but probably not quite this good. I think it's just vision, you just got to have a vision and bounce ideas, take your time, and detail. Definitely detail is the key. It punches above its weight for an old Holden.
While Clint's panel van is a stunning example of near original, things get a whole lot tougher from here on in. Holdens were once plentiful and preservation wasn't quite so high on the agenda. Instead, we Kiwis spent a great deal of years and energy crafting them into staunch performers, be it for the street or racetrack. A short drive south from the FJ, you'll find just that in the form of Carl's super smooth HQ Monaro.
The Monaro came about from a childhood dream. My grandfather had a genuine purple GTS. He passed on and the family sold the car as well, so it's sort of been a childhood dream to have one back in the family again. You don't need to change the body style much to make these things look cool and tough. It's just stance, wheels, and put a grumpy engine in them. I like bright colours, so that makes it stand out even more. But basically the huge rear quarters on them, they've got a nice style on the back, they've got a nice front, nice ride height, all that sort of stuff. Yep, that's just what appeals to me.
Carl himself is no stranger to Holden's HQ. He's blown out a previous NZ V8 feature car. So 9 years on, he had a pretty good idea of what he was in for with his second build.
The body wasn't too bad a shape actually, it was probably more beaten up rather than rust-wise. It's had 2 front floor pans, 2 sills, and that's the major rust repairs that were done. And the rest of it was just tightening the panels, heat and shrink, pulling it into shape. We've tried to use original panels where we can. Went through 5-6 guards before I found the 2 best. We welded in the flutes, the GTS flutes. I like the look of the flutes for a Monaro, so that's why I put them in. And then obviously I had to cut a hole in the bonnet as well, so that was the way we went.
While an EFI converted Hillborn 8-stack setup might have been the original concept, it was going to be one outside Carl's expertise and budget. So the call was made early to shift that onto a mate. Plan B is what you see here. 4 Weber IDA carbs perched atop a tough stroked 383 cube small block Chev, backed by a beefed up turbo 350 and 10-bolt LSD.
So that was just something different. I haven't seen it out on the market a lot. Not really on Chevs, you see it a lot on Mustangs and Cobras. It's loud, it's hot. Yeah, it's got gobs of torque. Being a stroker and with the Webers on it, basically squirting into every port. It's a step above a single carb small block Chev anyway. I'd say it's almost as good as my blown engine that I had in my ute, definitely.
All detailed and smooth to match the rest of this big coupe, of course. Not even the bits you can't see, like the undercarriage, would escape the treatment. This slick Monaro is a real credit to all involved, and very much the reward of sticking to a detailed game plan devised on day dot, right down to the smallest of stuff.
Yeah, there's a word that you probably wouldn't want to put on TV for it, I think. Some people have told me I'm a bit like that, but it's cleanliness and attention to detail. So when people know their HQs, they'll see what's been changed on it, like the chassis rails are all smooth, wiper motors deburred. There's just heaps of little factory things that are hidden. I'm all about just clean lines and keeping it clean and pristine. So, better than factory. If you can make it better than factory, it'll stand out, is my opinion. Yeah, and again, it comes back to the plan. If you want to plan to do an undercarriage, you've got to do every item. You can't leave something half-assed to factory, because when everything else is painted and plated, a factory item's just going to look raw. So, yep, it's attention to detail. That's all it is, and it's time. You just got to spend more time.
Protection of hybrid ceramic.
Whoa.
Now in 3 easy-to-use products. In original spray wax, now as a liquid wax, and a spray detailer. McGuires Hybrid Ceramic Family with advanced SiO2 technology. McGuires, ceramic made easy.
Rizlone has been in engines almost as long as engines have been in cars. Why? Because from then until now, there's never been a perfectly clean fuel. This means every time you fill up, you're adding pollutants and contaminants to your fuel system. Rizlone Fuel Injector Cleaner can cure those woes and help save your engine. Rizlone Fuel Injector Cleaner adds an upper cylinder lubricant, providing double the cleaning power out of the same bottle. We know something about aging well, so when we say it's your engine's fountain of youth under a screw top, you can count on it. Rizlone is the original engine tune-up. Available at participating stores near you.
You're tuned in to Repco Muscle Garage, the home of New Zealand's toughest muscle cars, hot rods and street machines. Proudly brought to you by Repco, in association with Mountshot, McGuires and Rizlone. Thanks for joining us for our Holden special, as we check out some of the country's toughest to wear the badge. Next up, an 80s Commodore Duo owned by good mates Mike Barry and Richard Tuttle.
My dad's always had Holdens. Bathurst days, I was allowed the TV in my room, you know, a packet of biscuits and a bag of chips, and I'd sit there the whole day and watch Bathurst. It went from there. When I started working, my boss at the time had an 86 factory 5-litre Calais. Yeah, to me that was, I was going to have one of those one day, and so here we are.
It was the car that I sort of worked on as an apprentice, with the whole Brocky thing and the following that he's done with these cars. You know, the VK seems to be the Commodore that, you know, the early series Commodores that everyone seems to follow, and I thought, well, I just wanted to make it a little bit extra and a bit different, but make it look pretty sharp as well, you know.
The Commodores aren't what you'd call fresh builds. In fact, they shared the cover of NZ-V8 magazine some 11 years ago, both then in blown form. What they have done, clearly, is evolve, and that's very much a reflection of the friendship, refining tastes, and a bit of healthy one-upmanship.
I wanted more power. The supercharged gig was good, but it took a lot of effort to drive. You know, you're always looking this way and looking that way around the supercharger. And as the supercharger heated up, especially on pump fuel, your power sort of went away. So it seemed like the logical thing to do is go turbo. Research was quite easy. There was a lot of it happening on the internet. So I jumped on the bandwagon and got the overalls on and started knocking it out.
Powering the VL is an LQ4 6-litre from the LS family, backed by a Powerglide and 9-inch. Fed 13 pounds of boost, the combo is good for over 600 horses to the treads.
Okay, it's a 1986 VK Royale, New Zealand new. It started life as a one-owner Grandma's 4-cylinder 5-speed manual. It was blue and silver, but unmolested, real tidy car, perfect project car. So went through, had a goal in mind of what we needed to do. Wanted to have the big tall inlet manifold, manual, Simmons, all that carry on, you know.
Great in theory, but Mike was then led astray following a drive in Richard's, at the time, blown VL. The VK soon sported its own supercharger with an auto switching cogs.
That was pretty cool, but still wanted to have back to how I originally wanted to build it, the Group A look. So sold the blower and assembly, and the auto went and the manual went back in, and I built a stroker engine for it with the high-rise manifold, etc., and back to where it was now. So it's sort of gone a full circle with other bits and pieces and back to where I am now. So that's all right, you know, but it's been pretty good.
The cars share plenty in common, and that's not by chance.
We'd get on the phone, and when I was building the VK, he'd be like, "Oh, you need that, and I'm like, bugger it. So in it went, you know. And when I semi-tubbed mine, and to make mine a point of difference, and then he got his going, it's like, oh, my Simmons ain't got a deep enough dish, so he went for a bigger dish and semi-tubbed his, and everything we did was, oh, you do that, and I'll try and do it a bit better, and then I'll do that, and he'd do that a bit better, and yeah, now his engine bay looks way better than mine, so I have to sort that out now.
Holden's circuit racing history is the stuff of legend, but like our mates across the ditch, we Kiwis found they were pretty handy for all sorts of things, from burnouts to full-blown quarter-mile weapons. And sometimes the lines got real blurry, such in a case of Aaron's monster twin-turbo Tirana from the Waikato. The kind of car you'd only find at, say, Many Dragway, right? Nope. Aaron's LX is all street legal, but built with a few less compromises in the quest for straight-line speed than his previous car, an HQ Monaro.
I wanted a lighter car, tubs, trans brake, everything I didn't have in the Monaro, and I've ended up with a car that's probably just as heavy. Yeah, but it's got all the extras, so everything I didn't have, which I've got now, so now it's just a matter of seeing how fast it'll go. Always a street car before race car, and a little bit of it is built around the Father's Day drags, that's why I've got an LX hatch instead of a LC or LJ, because they don't fit their rules, but that's the only meeting that it matters. Everything else, it doesn't matter.
So yeah, a quick street car was the name of the game here, but don't think 13s were ever going to cut it.
Mid-8s, so anything below an 850 I'll be over the moon, because when I started building it, there wasn't any mid-8 second cars around, not in the Aussie class, obviously Fish with his one, but who's going to catch him?
And the Tirana has done that and then some, rocketing its way to 4th on NZV8 magazine's quickest street cars list, stopping the clock at a best ET to date of 8.14 seconds at 169 miles per hour down the quarter.
It's a 540 big block Chev, dart block LE heads, just your standard aftermarket stuff. A couple of Master Power 45 turbos on there and a CNS blow-through carburetor running on E85. Power glide transmission through to your trusty 9-inch out the back door. It drives nice. It's probably nicer than what I was expecting it to be. It's got a aftermarket Heights front end in it, so it's a complete chassis right through. It's nicer on the track. It feels a lot safer on the track, just under power sort of stuff. But obviously on the road with all the potholes and all the rest of it, it's a few harsh sounds, and there's no bushing or anything in the rear suspension with the 5-link in the back, so it's all rod ends and that sort of thing, so it's a bit harsh on the road, but yeah, it is what it is, eh? It's a very lazy motor on the street, very tame. Doesn't overheat, like it'll run out of gas before it overheats, it just sits there and idles away. So yeah, when I started the build, there's no way I would have gone turbos. I said to my young fella, hey, no way mate, no bloody way, but yeah, apparently I've switched sides.
This exact car here, it was the very first car I ever owned. So I was 15 years old, young fella. My sister's mate was getting rid of a stock standard HR, pulled some pennies together and bought it. Slowly kind of chucked it in the shed and did it up. Yeah, loved it, drove around, it was a bit of a car in its day. I got married a few years later and decided that I better grow up a bit and sell it. I've missed the car ever since, I really have. Always wanted a supercharged, fat, blowing, obnoxious car, so why the HR is because it was my very first car.
While finding his long-lost sedan was the dream goal, it was one that looked increasingly less likely as the years ticked by into double digits. A plan B was put into action, and another HR was sourced. The body was mint, and Nick was about halfway done. But you know how these stories go. 12 years had now passed, and wouldn't you know it, the prodigal HR resurfaced, albeit with a price tag suffering from a decade's worth of inflation. But Nick clearly had to have it. the Plan B body was sold on, and this time, given that both Nick's family and his engineering business were growing rapidly, he decided the best way to do the HR justice was with a call to Dan and the boys from Hamilton's Rocket Speed Equipment. The Rocket crew are well versed when it comes to building tough cars. In fact, a recent one of them belongs to Nick's brother Mike, a car that Nick certainly wouldn't mind doing the old brotherly one-up on. The recipe for that would be a simple one.
A lot of power, but just that mongrel power. Yeah, obnoxious, something that's loud and you can hear from way down the road.
Getting the car sitting right was the first port of call. The bulk of the rear end was relieved from duty, making way for a completely custom 4-link. Coilovers would join the fun, while a competition engineering anti-roll bar hangs off the narrowed Moser 9-inch diff housing. Inside, a Detroit locker and 31 spline axles, a lot of diff for a small car. Just to remove any doubt as to the Holden's revised mission statement, a 671 blower now makes for one heck of a hood ornament, and no, it's not sitting atop a 186. The 406 Cube small block Chev was bolted together by late engine building legend Jerry Manders, and is chock with the good stuff. CNC ported AFR alloy heads got the nod, while a 950 Holly double pumper plays bartender.
Well, I tell you what, when I first got in it, I don't know, my heart was pumping out of my chest. Kind of still does that when I get in it. I mean, you get used to a car now, so I'm kind of thinking more horsepower next. So it's good to handle. It drives really nice. You just need to be really careful, especially in the wet. You need to make sure you know how to handle it.
That's it for this edition, our Holden special. But as a brand that's made such an impact on our little slice of Kiwi car culture, we're betting it won't be the last either. Your ride needs some love? We've got you sorted. Thanks to our mates at McGuires, we have this massive complete car care pack worth over $760 to give away. Plus, a $500 Mount Shop voucher to keep the underside ship-shape too. And to top it off, 1 year subscription to NZ V8 magazine. To enter, simply head to themotorhood.com and hit the Repco Muscle Garage link. The winner will be drawn at the end of the series. Easy. During this year's Repco Supercars Championship season, the garage is your go-to place for all things supercars and motoring. Exclusive content, special guests, and your chance to win amazing experiences at the track. Register your interest today. Repco Muscle Garage was proudly brought to you by Repco. It starts with the parts. Mount Shop, undercar specialists. McGuires, people who love cars love McGuires. And Rizlo, high-performance additives for high-performance vehicles.